Hello folks, and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and I'm here to do the full moon video that is taking place today on the 5th of February. It's happening at 18:29 and I'm doing this at about 4:30, so in about 2 hours time we will be having the full moon in Leo, and it's taking place at 16 degrees 41 minutes. So this video that I'm doing is my personal interpretation for those of you who haven't been to my channel before. My personal intuitive interpretation of what I see is happening astrologically with the planets at this time, and I want to also talk a little bit about my personal observations of what has taken place with the new moon that took place on the 21st of January as well, because that was a really big new moon. One of the reasons that it was such a huge moon having, or new moon having such a big effect on our planet, on our emotions and our conscious mind, etc., is that it was so close to the earth. We can't see it because it's a new moon, and new moon is always dark, so we couldn't actually see it, but it was the closest moon to the earth. So it was at perigee, which is the closest point to our earth. So the full effect of that, because the new moon is very much more an inner reflective energy rather than the full moon, which is like out there, it's open, it's kind of like in your face kind of energy really, which is why the lunacy side is connected to the full moon, the full moon lunacy. But the new moon is much more an inner journey into the kind of inner self, and a lot of the experiences of what has been happening to people around me that I know personally have been that they have been on quite a journey over these last 2 weeks as well. So I just wanted to give a quick explanation. Also, another reason was that that new moon actually took place at the same point, the 029 point, for the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter that came together back in 2020, at the end of 2020, at the solstice, in fact, of 2020. So this new moon is kind of like bringing up that energy as well, that kind of reverberating back out there, the big change energy that has been taking place over the last 2 years that we've been experiencing. And another thing about this 0 point of Aquarius, because we are moving into the age of Aquarius as well, so it's very significant in that respect as well. But another thing is that Pluto is already conjunct that point, and he was conjunct that point when the new moon was taking place as well. So a lot of old endings, a lot of new beginnings stuff, transformational stuff. And when Pluto moves onto that 0 point, which he will do in March, it's going to activate that spot again, and again it's going to be more endings and beginnings, because that is really what Pluto is about. He is the planet of transformation. He's also the planet of impermanence. He reminds us that nothing is ever permanent, even though it may appear to us to be permanent, because something may last for thousands and thousands of years and we tend to think, oh well, it's always going to be that way, but that doesn't mean that it is always going to be that way. So Pluto kind of reminds us of that as well. And so Pluto at this time is very close to moving into Aquarius. He's at 28 degrees and 48 minutes of Capricorn at this time. So he's going to be entering that dreaded 29 degree point of Capricorn very soon. That 29 degree, the anoretic point, the point of kind of dangerous, the most dangerous point, because it's a point where the planet is trying to move out of one sign, and he's been in Capricorn since 2008, let's not forget. And so he's kind of like quite at home there now. He's kind of got used to that Capricorn energy, and he's now having to kind of readjust and move into this new energy of the Aquarian energy. But again, going back to the new moon as well, at that time we had Mercury, who was at 8 degrees 37, I believe, or 8 degrees 50, sorry, Mercury, at that time in Capricorn. So he was also conjunct one of the dwarf planets, sorry, not the dwarf planets, the centaur planets that I've spoken, or asteroids should I say, that I've spoken about previously, and that was Pholos. And Pholos, of course, is the energy of sudden death, basically. It's very sudden cell death is what it's linked to, because it was Pholos who died from the blood of the Medusa dipped in, or the arrow dipped in the Medusa blood. So he has had a big effect on us for the last few years. This Pholos energy has been very profound, very strong. It's a behind the scenes energy, because it's not an obvious, it's not like our normal planets that we talk about, like Mars or Venus or Saturn or Uranus, or it's not really a highlighted energy, shall we say. But at the time that Mercury stationed, he stationed next to Pholos, and that kind of like has really brought all of this back into our consciousness and our awareness. People are talking about this because Pholos also governs things like poisons and biolabs and biochemical weapons, all of that kind of nasty stuff that really shouldn't be messed about with and should just be left alone. It's that kind of energy of going into something further than you really should go into something, not for the benefit of the human race, shall we say. So Mercury, of course, is the planet of communication, and the conjunction between those two over these last 2 weeks, what we have seen is a lot of information coming out. And of course there were also like Mercury was also quincunx Mars as well at that time, and square Jupiter, and he was also trine Uranus as well. So big changes within that whole field. Also Mars, the kind of like in Gemini, it's very, again, very communicative, very kind of like fiery, hot-headed kind of energy, but also very determined energy, an energy that wants to get to the like it's curious, it like wants to know why something is the way it is. It's not good enough to just be told, well, this is how it is. It's like we're really getting into the kind of like the reason behind why something is happening the way it's happening. So over these last 2 weeks, of course, Mars also being the warlord as well, we've also heard a lot about that kind of like push at this time as well. If you've been paying any attention to what's been going on in the Ukraine story, the narrative there has been kind of being blown up, which is again very Mars energy, Mars aggression, war, and fire as well. Talking of fire, this is why I've got these cards behind me here. There's a lot of fire energy around at this time as well. So at this full moon, we have quite a few planets, or energies should I say, in the sign of Aries, not necessarily all obvious again. So the actual energies that we could say are apparent to us are Jupiter at 6 degrees and Chiron at 12 degrees. So they are in a conjunction, but it's a kind of wide conjunction here. But we also have at this time, I'm going to move on from the new moon energy, at this time for the full moon, we also have in Aries, we have Eris, who's still at the 2358 or kind of 24 degree point. She's been backwards and forwards over this energy or area for quite some time. So if you have anything at those particular points of the Aries energy, you are going to be feeling quite fired up and quite kind of like maybe activist about something. You may have a kind of like a driving urge to really change things or really get something done in your life, or to make a big difference in the world even. But we also have Salacia in Aries at this time as well, another kind of background energy, and she is at 7 degrees or 6 degrees 56, 7 degrees of Aries. So she is also connecting to this Jupiter energy and the Chiron energy as well. And Salacia is all about, for me, it's about bringing up what's been in the dark into the light, because before she became the wife of Neptune, she hid herself in the dark depth of the ocean, so not to be seen. So she also kind of knew what was going on down in the very, very deep, dark depths of the ocean. But then she was brought up into the light. So with Jupiter as well being conjunct that, it's like a lot of stuff is being brought up into the light and magnified and really kind of expanded on. So there's an energy of extreme here in many ways. It's like an extremeness, because the moon is also connecting with the Uranus energy. Sorry, there's a T-square between the sun and the moon and Uranus as well. So that kind of fires up that energy even more, that extreme, Uranus being the kind of sudden, surprising change energy, that things happen just out of the blue, just suddenly, unexpectedly, anything could happen, anything could change at any moment. And Jupiter is kind of highlighting that as well with this Salacia. There's a lot of fire, there's a lot of new, there's a lot of creative energy at this time. Leo is creative energy. It's also energy about bringing things into the spotlight as well, like being on a stage. It's very much the sun energy. It's ruled by the sun, and it's a fire element. So it's very much about kind of like bringing that energy of, it can be very optimistic energy as well, because of this Jupiter energy that we've got going on here. Jupiter is also, at this time, Jupiter is making connections with, with the moon. Jupiter is connected to the moon, but it is, again, it's a very kind of like far trine. The moon will have been connecting with Jupiter as it got to its full moon energy. So it's kind of coming out of that energy as well, but it's kind of bringing an optimism and a kind of enthusiasm into this full moon, because it's been connecting with Jupiter for some time now. We also have Jupiter connected to Black Moon Lilith, which is a whole nother story, because Black Moon Lilith has now moved into the energy of Leo. She has been traversing through Cancer for quite some time, but now she's left the Cancer energy, she's moved into the Leo energy. So what Black Moon Lilith does is she brings up the dark side, the kind of underbelly, if you like, of that particular sign. So with Leo, it's all about fame and fortune in many ways. So I think we're going to see a lot of news around famous stars, people who you don't expect to be doing some of the things that we're going to find out about. It's really kind of pushing it into that, almost like a tunnel, almost like there's no escape, like there's only just that that way forward, like there's no turning back, it's just that way forward kind of energy is how I'm feeling about that. And also, because we've got this T-square here with the moon at 16 degrees and the sun at 16 degrees of Aquarius. And Uranus is himself also at 15 degrees 1 of Taurus. So we have this T-square, but we've also got the south node at 8 degrees there as well. So the south node is also connecting in this T-square as well, which means we also have, sorry, the north node is connecting in that T-square, which means we also have the south node connecting as well. So that is actually creating a fixed cross again. So again, it's that crossroads. It's literally like choose your poison in many ways. Choose your, where are you going? Where are you heading? Are you heading into that Taurus energy of the Venus, the beauty and the positive, life affirming energy? Or are you going to stick with this kind of like the north node energy of Scorpio, which, as we're seeing at this time, has a lot of deception behind it. There's a lot of darkness, a lot of secretive energy, which is kind of coming out to the fore. So it is like choosing a side in many ways, because one is heading towards the light and the other one is kind of heading towards the dark, really. But the nodes will be changing later in the year as well. They will be moving into Aries and Libra. So that's going to change the energy for us for the next 18 months again, and where we're heading. But coming back to this Aries energy, there is a lot, as I was saying, we've got Celestia there as well. And we've also got Manwe, who has just crossed over the 0 point of Aries. So that's the kind of very beginning, the very start of the story, if you like. The kind of 0 point zero point of Aries is the very first degree of the zodiac. So Manwe is very, very similar to Jupiter energy. Again, it's very uplifting, very positive. In Aries, it's very creative, it's very new. It wants to give birth to something new and something creative. And this moon is very much a creative moon. Very, very much a creative moon. Because we also have Juno in Aries as well. And Juno is the wife of Jupiter. And so they're literally conjunct each other at this time, and they are also on this Chiron energy as well, because Juno is at 11 degrees 32 and Chiron's at 12 degrees 48. So this could also be about healing old relationships in order to be able to move forward into new energy. That doesn't necessarily mean going into or back into the same relationship, but it's about healing it within yourself, coming to terms with things within yourself so it can then be released, which is a full moon energy. It's all about releasing. So if we're releasing something that is blocking our creativity, then we're going to make space to allow that energy to change and shift and grow into something new and something much more positive, rather than hanging on to something that is no longer healthy or healing or nurturing. And isn't doing us any good. So that's another energy in Aries. So all in all, we've got quite a few different Aries energies there. I'd say there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with Aries as well. 6 energies. 6 energies with the Aries energy as well. So that's a lot of Aries energy. And of course Leo as well is a fire sign as well, again, as I was saying, very creative energy. So that is really kind of pushing us to begin something new, something that we haven't tried before as well. It's something that could take us places that we haven't been before as well. With this Uranus T-square, it's something new, something unexpected, as I was saying, something out of the blue, something from kind of a more innovative way of looking at the world, which is going to shift our perception, and our perspective on ourselves and our relationships, because Aries is also very much about the self. Leo is also about the self as well. Leo can also be a very self-oriented, kind of like what's the word I'm looking for here? Self-absorbed energy in some ways as well. It can be quite self-absorbed energy and only think of its own needs as well. But fortunately, I mean, the moon is at 16 degrees, so the moon is maturing as it goes through the sign of Leo. So it's not at the early stages, which is where, of course, we find Black Moon Lilith at this time. At the very early stages of Leo. And she's also, interestingly enough, Black Moon Lilith is also trine Hermia, which is that volcanic, volatile, the fertile, rejuvenationary energy. She is the Hawaiian goddess of fertility and creation. So again, bringing that creative energy into the mix here. And of course, the new moon as well was also square to that energy at this time. And Hermia is also square to Pluto at this time as well, as Pluto moves closer into the Aquarian energy. He's already squaring Hermia. So again, that's kind of that transformational, creative. We could see a lot of transforming on the earth itself with this Uranus T-square. We could see a lot of CMEs coming in from the sun, a lot more earthquakes, a lot of shifting of the earth's energy, all happening around this time period. I also want to mention Mars as well here as well, because Mars is also in a square with Venus at this time. So there could be some conflict there. Venus is happily ensconced in Pisces, and Venus loves Pisces. It's very like idyllic kind of idea of love. When Venus is in Pisces, it's almost too idyllic. It's almost like it doesn't want the harsh edges at all. It just wants the soft, like fairy tale romance kind of energy, Venus in Pisces. And squaring over to Mars there could be some kind of like strong like sharp shocks, like waking up kind of energy. I'm feeling kind of like almost like slaps in the face kind of thing to a dream or an idea that you thought was good, but it's got issues or problems. Or Mars is kind of like trying to show you the reality in a way with this Venus energy. And of course Venus is also about our values as well as our relationships. It's also about our financial situation, so there could also be something to do with that there as well, because Venus just wants to kind of like get into a hot bubble bath type of energy when she's in Pisces, and just kind of float away really, and just everything, nothing matters, nothing matters, everything's fine, it will all work out okay. But this kind of square to Mars is kind of saying, in a way, it's kind of wake up. It's like wake up and smell the reality rather than just smelling the roses. It's great to smell the roses, but there is also, you've got to remember that roses also have thorns attached as well. So there is some kind of conflict, possible conflict between these two energies here of reality and the dream state not kind of gelling very well. So, what else do I want to talk about? Pholos is still making his way through Capricorn. There's some interesting energies in Libra at this time as well. So we have in Libra, again, behind the scenes, the not so obvious, we have Ceres, who is the goddess of corn, cereal, agriculture, all of that kind of thing. And she is at 7 degrees retrograde in Libra at this time. But she's also connecting in a conjunction with Make, who's also just turned retrograde as well. So he is now at 9 degrees 38. So he's going to be going back again to that point of about 7 degrees, I think, before he retrogrades forward, or retrogrades direct, or stations direct, which won't be for a while yet. Make, again, that really slow moving energy. So these energies take a long time to actually kind of like become known, shall we say. Make is the Easter Island god, another creation god, but also he is to do with the higher cosmic law. So he's above the law of, he's the higher energy of Saturn, and Saturn is all about the man-made rules and restrictions that are placed on us, which are not the same as universal or cosmic laws. So Make is beyond all of the Saturn rules and regulations. He's like on a he's like the 5D scale, if you like, who kind of like looks down on all of the karmic law, because Saturn is the law of lord of karma as well. But he works through the very physical realm. Being the ruler of Capricorn, he works through the very physical realm of hard work and actions. What you do has an effect, whereas Make is much more about a larger picture. The historical energy is how I like to see Make. Like his laws are slow, very slow, but they are very exacting. Like he's very you can't completely ignore them forever. You can ignore them for a certain amount of time, but then time, which again is a Saturn ruled thing, will catch up and it will cause everything to be re-evaluated. And Make is going back. He is retrograding at this time, so he is once again going back over those same degrees, and he is re-evaluating the situation of law. And in Libra, of course, it's very much about harmony and balance and justice and fairness. What on a universal scale is just and fair may not be how we see it on a physical human scale. So we also have, like I was saying, he's conjunct Ceres as well, so there is a connection here with the agricultural and Mother Earth herself in many ways, and how she's been treated, and how even manipulated as well, the manipulation that has gone down over the centuries to make things a certain way for certain groups of people who have then taken power over on a 3D level over the rules and the regulations that control all the rest of us. Again, very Saturn energy, but Makemake is beyond all of this kind of energy. So we also have as well Orcus making a connection with this T square with both Uranus. So Orcus is at 14 degrees of Virgo at this time, and he's also retrograde as well. So he's at 14 degrees of Virgo, so he's trining Uranus at this time, which means he's also trining the North Node, and he's also trining the South Node at this time. And so Orcus is an underworld god. He's another one of the underworld gods. He's probably where we get our idea of Pluto from. He was a very, very ancient god, pre-Pluto type god. But he also was, like I was saying, he was an underworld god, and he was all about people keeping their oaths, their word, their truth. And I find it really interesting that at this time this is becoming a very kind of important part of our history at this time. It's almost like it's being brought back into our awareness that if you make an oath to something, then you have to stick by it, you have to stand by what you say. And of course that hasn't happened for a long time now. People don't stick by their words, particularly people in positions of power. They'll say one thing to get into that position of power, and then when they're in that position of power, they completely change their story, or they shift their ideas, and kind of then move into more of a kind of group think, kind of where the power lies, or where they think the power lies. So Orcus was one who would come along. If you broke an oath, he would take you down into the underworld, and he would keep you down in the underworld until you repented, until you looked and saw the error of your ways. And only when you had seen the error of your ways would he let you go. So that could have been like thousands of years that you were left down in this dank, dark underworld prison dungeon, to kind of reflect on your crime of having broken your word. So Orcus is playing a part still. He has been around for quite some time, and anybody who knows what's going on the political field at this time will be aware that there is a lot of oaths that are being kind of broken, and also being highlighted at this time as well. And I think that's the important and the interesting thing that is taking place there, is that it's being highlighted. People are questioning that when you go into an office, a power office, then, you know, or a position of power that you hold over the people, then you have to live by your word. So what else have we got here? We have Mercury is at 22 degrees 31 of Capricorn. So he is, I believe, just coming out of his shadow period here. Let me just have a quick look at my book. I'm sure I have it all written down. Yeah, February the 7th. So when he gets to 24 degrees, and 20 minutes, he will be coming out on the 7th of February out of his shadow, so he'll be in totally new territory. But he is also connecting still with Pluto as well, so there's a pretty serious side to what's being said at this time as well. So we need to be careful about how we speak and what we say, because there's a kind of heaviness to it, a importance to it, with Pluto at the very last end point of this Capricorn energy. And interestingly, he's still connecting to that 27 degrees of the natal US chart as well. And when he goes into Aquarius in March, he will then retrograde back. He'll reach that point, that 0 point. I can't remember exactly, I think it's 0. Let me just have a quick look. He's going to get to 0.21. So almost the same point, that 0.29 point, which was where Saturn and Jupiter met up in 2020. So Pluto is going to hit that point and also bring that energy back to life as well. But not only that, he's then going to retrograde back, and he's going to stop again at that 27 degree point of the natal chart of America. So things have not ended there yet. There is still more of that story is yet to come for what is happening at this time in the US. So that's going to be going into the end of 2023 and 2024. Let me just have another quick look when Pluto comes out of his shadow. Is going to be, yeah, February the 1st in 2024, and he's going to station direct again on that 27 degrees 53 on October the 10th as well. So like I say, still more of that story to come. Another thing about this Mars energy as well that I just want to talk about quickly, which I forgot to mention earlier, was that Mars is a reactivator. So Mars is now activating the Black Moon Lilith energy. When Black Moon Lilith was going through Gemini, there was a lot of stuff that was coming out, because like I said, Black Moon Lilith is the kind of underbelly, the sordid, the taboo, all that kind of yucky stuff that nobody really wants to like look at or talk about. So in Gemini, it was very much to do with children, education, the environment, trying to kind of pointing out issues within the educational system, and Mars is reactivating all of that energy right now again. So, and he has been ever since he kind of entered into Gemini. He's the first planet that's gone back across that energy where Black Moon Lilith is, and he's going to do the same as well when he goes through the Cancer energy. He will then be reactivating all of that story about again, the children and the home, safety, security, mothers, feminine, really feminine energy again is going to be activated. What is a woman? That kind of story. With the Gemini energy, it's also about allowing certain people into schools that maybe shouldn't be there because they're not suitable. All of that kind of like push for the transgender, the kind of grooming energy, and I know I'm not supposed to say that word because it's not an acceptable word, particularly on this channel, but that is especially the kind of energy that Mars is going to be bringing back into our awareness as he moves through the rest of Gemini and also into the Cancer energy as well, following the Black Moon Lilith energy as he goes. So another thing with the Mars energy as well is that it can be, and he is connected as well in a sextile at this time with this Jupiter and the Chiron energy as well. So there can be some kind of healing around the narrative at this time. And I'm just looking here as well because Jupiter is also square the Pholus energy as well, which is interesting. So he's also square that Pholus energy, which is all about, dare I say, the injectable and the bioweapon and all of that thing. It's all of that is all coming up into the conscious awareness that has been kind of like in many ways not wanting to see it or accept it, but it's like with this Jupiter energy square to Pholus, trining Mars as well, it's like something has to give. There's something that has to give. Jupiter is expanding, and of course we've got Manway following on behind that as well. So there is this expansive and very kind of like positive. There is a positive outlook here. But at the same time, there's also like we've got to look at the dark side of things as well. We can't just like with the Celestia energy as well, because she's also square Pholus as well. So we cannot just ignore it and pretend that everything's fine and that let's just pretend it didn't happen kind of energy. And again with that Mars energy, this kind of slapping energy of kind of wake up, kind of like, you know, look at the details, look at the information, look at the data. It's like it's really kind of like, I get this feeling of like, it's like a hot, I want to say hot potato, like too hot to touch kind of energy, but it's expanding. It's like this big hot like balloon, I suppose, in a way, and using that word is probably a bit dodgy at the moment as well, with everything that's going down again in the US with this spy balloon that has just appeared and they had to take it out. But that's how it feels, this connection with Mars and Jupiter. It's like hot air, like expansive, kind of like, it can be too much. It can be too much information, too much data, too much forced on us as well in a way. And it's quite a forceful energy here because it's Aries. Jupiter in Aries can be quite competitive, can be quite forceful. So we need to be aware of that energy as well, because it can also be quite a dangerous energy. It feels like quite volatile. It's a volatile energy is what I'm feeling. Especially around this issue to do with Pholus, because Pholus is connected to all of this as well. So to do with the biolabs in particular, of course, data, information, because Mars is also quincunx to the Pholus energy at this time as well, and a quincunx is an energy of unease, uncomfortableness. It doesn't sit right, it doesn't feel right. And a square, of course, as well, is challenging energy. So that square from Jupiter is challenging this Pholus energy. which could become quite volatile, could become quite angry quite quickly, quite easily. And of course we still have this ongoing opposition of Pluto and Black Moon Lilith, which is kind of like easing off, but it has been around for quite some time, and it is again kind of really bringing out this all the sordid underbelly, the stuff that needs to be brought into the light, the stuff that needs to be looked at on so many levels, so many levels. So I think that's where I'm going to leave this particular video, my observations of what's taking place at this time and what we need to be aware of on a global scale, also on a personal level as well, because all of this can just be the same personally. With the full moon in fixed fire as well, there is also that kind of volatile possibility there as it's connecting to Uranus. But again, that could also be more to do with earth movement, earth shifts, things that we can't control, storms, solar flares. There could be outings of like cyber attacks and just general power outages as well at this time. And so anybody who is a sun sign, who has anything between the where are we? The 11 degrees and 21 degrees of Leo is going to be feeling this very powerfully at this time. The same degrees, the 11 degrees to 21 degrees of Taurus as well, especially with Uranus at that energy at the same time as well. And anybody with anything in the Aquarius where the sun is, the same energy here, 11 degrees to 21 degrees of Aquarius is going to be feeling that powerful full moon energy. You may want to kind of create something new. You may want to, like I say, push ahead with projects, or like getting quite kind of activistic kind of feel about this energy as well, especially as it's also connecting with Eris here as well. We have a trine to Eris in Aries, that feisty, discordant energy, the energy of the fighter, the female fighting energy, the kind of like stand up and be counted energy. And we're seeing a lot of that happening as well. We're seeing a lot of protests, a lot of activism at this time, and this could really kind of like bring it to a head as well. Much more of it to come. And anybody, of course, with anything in the same 11 to 21 degrees of Scorpio is going to be feeling this full moon This powerful full moon. But the interesting thing about this full moon as well is that she is furthest away. She was furthest away and at apogee yesterday, so she's still very far away from us at this time. So she's not going to be having quite as powerful effect on our emotions as she normally would when she's closer to our planet as well. But all of the all of the fixed signs, Leo, Taurus, Aquarius and Scorpio, are all going to be affected by this full moon. And also all of the mutable signs who are sextile. So that's Gemini, Sagittarius, Libra and Aries, of course. So, not Aries, sorry, Pisces. No, it is, sorry. Yeah, Libra, it is Libra, and so I'm getting confused here. I'm looking at Mars. I don't know why I'm looking. Yeah, so Gemini, Sagittarius, of course. Gemini, Sagittarius, what is going on? My brain is switching off now. Yeah, the fire signs, Sagittarius and Aries, are both trining this energy as well. So you'll also be feeling it quite strongly and powerfully. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to pull a card for this full moon. Just watching the sun setting there. It's very, very beautiful. So, a card for the full moon in Leo. So what have we got? Respect. Number 43. And it's saying, during a healing process, it is vital to cultivate insightful awareness of your self-worth. Realizing you deserve praise and love makes you more able to give praise and love. Think about how you can deepen your self-respect. Consider someone you respect greatly and reflect on why you feel that way. Do you love yourself unconditionally? Do you have a self-depreciating sense of humour? It really isn't okay to have fun at your own expense. Do you take good care of yourself? This includes getting enough sleep, eating well and exercising regularly. Are you able to make decisions for yourself based on your needs and wants? When you're in a healing process, having your own outlook and developing your perspective can carry you a long way. Stand up for whatever it is you believe in and be respectful of people that may have differing viewpoints. By gaining experience and improving yourself, you earn respect of others. You will also respect yourself more. Respect is not something you acquire quickly or easily, but it will be an ongoing support, and your self-assurance will be unshakable. A beautiful goddess stands before an array of lilies and daisies. These flowers symbolize an abundance of energy and confidence. The lilies specifically indicate a period of growth. The goddess is surrounded by the light of her aura. The yellow colour of her aura reflects her ability to claim her power. Her crown represents strength and power. These attributes can assist you while you boost your efforts to respect yourself more. So that's an interesting energy to work with. Respect, self-respect. Not giving your power away. Standing up for what we believe in. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there and say thank you very much to those of you who've come across to listen to my reading. Please could you thumbs it up for me, give me a like, comment if you want to, and also share this reading with anybody who you think may be interested in finding out more about the astrology side of what's happening in the world. I like to link it into things that are actually happening at this time as well, so a kind of geopolitical, astrological kind of like outlook, if you like. And also I was going to say something else there. My head has just completely gone blank again. Yeah, share, like, comment, thumbs it up. There was something else I was going to say, and I do this nearly every time when I get to the end of the video. So okay, just thank you very much for coming over and taking the time to listen to what I have to say. Hopefully I'll see you all soon. Enjoy this Leo full moon, and take good care of yourselves and anybody else around you at this time.